Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our regular meeting of Council. I now call it to order at 6:01 p.m. First of all, I would like to welcome all the members of the public who are here attending. Thank you for coming. And people watching it live on YouTube. As we do have a full gallery, I would like to remind those in attendance that cheering, booing, or outbursts are not permitted. If you have any comments or concerns, we encourage you to submit in writing directly to the clerk for circulation to council. Now on to the calling of the roll, please, clerk.
Mayor Sydney.
Present.
Revimo.
Present.
Councillor Legree.
Present.
Councillor McWhirter.
Present.
Councillor McDonald.
Present.
Councillor Sobalski.
Present.
Councillor Andrew Dick.
Present.
Mayor Sydney, we have quorum.
Thank you very much. As we gather, we would like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we're meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all of the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Can I please have everybody rise for O Canada? Thank you, everyone. Any declaration of interest from council? Hearing and seeing none. I would like, with unanimous consent from council, to move directly to item D.6.4 and D.6.5 to deal with the business of the Community Support Multiculturalism Anti-Racism Project Grant and the art project to showcase equity, diversity, and inclusion. Are we any unanimous? Great, thank you. So moving on to D.6.4, that Renfrew Town Council receive this report for information purposes as it relates to the Community Support Multiculturalism and Anti-Racism Initiative Project Grant. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor MacDonald, second by Councillor Legree. I would like to ask the Director to give a brief report.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Sidney. So DEI, or Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, is a term used to describe policies and programs that promote representation and participation of different groups of individuals. It encompasses people of different ages, races, ethnicities, abilities, genders, religions, cultures, and sexual orientation. At the December 2020 council meeting, members of council presented a report on racism and diversity in the town of Renfrew and spoke in support of a progressive action plan. At that meeting, council adopted the actions contained in the report. They acknowledge this as a starting point to respond to discrimination, racism, bias, and exclusion in our community. As an outcome of council's commitment, in January of 2021, the program developer for the town of Renfrew submitted a grant application to the Ministry of Housing, Diversity and Inclusion as part of the Community Support Multiculturalism and Anti-Racism Initiatives program. The application was successful, and in 2022, the town received a grant for $55,591 with a contribution required from the town of $38,038 for a total of $93,629 to be spent on a project devoted to community support, multiculturalism, and anti-racism initiatives. No funds had been expended when the community service team was tasked with this project in May of 2023. So after reaching out to the ministry, an extension was granted with a requirement for all funds to be expended by March 31st, 2024. The grant was discussed at the Inclusive, Age-Friendly, Barrier-Free Community Working Group, where it was agreed that the director would put out an RFP, ensuring that the project would be carried out efficiently and meet the parameters of the application in a timely manner. So Becky Wright of Milestone Consulting and a subcontractor, Kate Monahan, Becky submitted the successful bid. Becky Wright has over a decade managing complex projects with multiple stakeholders such as this one. Kate Monahan is well connected in the DEI space through her work at Algonquin College's Pembroke campus, her PhD work in social justice and activist entrepreneurship, and her role as a board member for the Canadian Outdoor Professionals Association, an organization that works towards improving equity and inclusion for professionals in the outdoor adventure tourism industry. Both are committed to community-based solutions to problems faced by members of our community. The consultants will help initiate the CS MARI training for municipal staff and deliver a 3-year strategic plan. The plan will incorporate onboarding and ongoing staff training, updates to municipal policies, and community programming. The project will ensure that there is a process in place for everyone's voice to be heard and valued safely, and that there is programming to celebrate the diversity that exists in our community. Supporting and including one group does not mean negating another. There is room for everyone's voice to be heard and valued, and ensuring an inclusive, welcoming community will help to entice new families to the area, encourage youth to remain, and allow innovation and growth. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any council have any questions? Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, I prepared a few words to address this motion. First of all, these issues are very personal to me, and I don't take these conversations lightly. I have family that fall under this umbrella, and I've also lived through some of the current history as people fought for equality in the 80s and the 90s. I've also witnessed firsthand discriminatory behavior and actions towards marginalized groups during my career. During the last 20 years of my career, I participated in numerous diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and initiatives brought forth from my previous employer. If done right, these are great educational experiences, and I support these initiatives. As we move forward with this diversity, equity, and inclusion initiative, not only should there be training for town staff, but I'd also, and Kelly, I'd also like to see if we can offer free training to people from the town that are interested in businesses as an outreach, but the key part being free, so that there's no financial barrier for that. So I've already engaged a current DEI initiative and actually have some motions to bring forth later tonight to address some topics. I think it's important to note DEI is not just about diversity, but it's just as important as we need to celebrate inclusivity, bring everyone together in unity. So thank you, Mayor, and back to you.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? Well said, Councillor. Hearing nothing else, all in favor? Thank you. Moving on to D.6.5, for the report rising from the Community Services and Economic Development Committee, item D.6.5. Can I have a mover on the following recommendation provided by the committee? The actual recommendation is that Renfrew Town Council take no further action regarding a crosswalk, sidewalk, or art project supporting community support, multiculturalism, and anti-racism. Do I have a mover? Going once. Going twice. So we do not have a mover. So that would mean that that is actually canceled. There's a proper term for that. So does anybody else have a motion to present on this topic? Councillor Andrew Dick.
Thank you, Mayor Sidney. Through you, I'd like to bring forth the motion. Whereas the town's draft strategic plan includes a strategic to support an accessible, supportive, and age-friendly community by advocating for community health and wellness through strategic partnerships. And whereas a community support, multiculturalism, and anti-racism project is underway with the assistance of federal funding. And whereas the town of Renfrew staff recommend including a community art mural project as part of the outcomes. And whereas some members of the Community Service and Economic Development Committee expressed concern with proposed installation of the town building, and whereas the Visitor Information Center at Howard K. Harmis Park is situated at a prominent entry point to the town. Therefore, be it resolved that the Renfrew Town Council direct the consultants working on the community support, multiculturalism, and anti-racism project to include a community art mural project at the Visitor Information Center as part of their outcomes, and to investigate the possibility of working with an organization to come into the MyFM Center upon its opening to have a counselor to assist any child or teenager struggling or confronted with issues related to inclusion, multiculturalism, and anti-racism, and further, that consideration be given to other potential inclusion projects at the VIC, Howard K. Harmis Park, and other town of Renfrew facilities and public spaces.
Seconded by preview. Any questions to Councillor Porter?
I'd just like to say, to add to Councillor Dick's motion, that we had a number of discussions about this, and we talked about it. I feel that providing counseling for people in this situation and support is long overdue. I've talked to a number of people in the community, and they're very much on board that support's needed. The town needs to embrace this, and providing counseling, especially since the town is underway to eventually open the extension at Mattaway, and one of the things we're going to have there is the youth center, and I think this would work hand in hand with that, and I'd like to see this go ahead. And I'm totally in favor of the multicultural mural for it at the Info Center. I think that's a great idea. It doesn't just include one group, it actually brings in all the groups, and to me, it's the best place to put it, since it's more visible. Anybody coming in the town for Info Center, I think that's the best place for it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Andrew Dick?
Thank you, Mayor Sidney. Through you, oh, sorry. We're good? There we go. I think it's important that we're looking at that area of town. I'm not a fan of the Visitor Information Center, and eventually in the next couple of weeks I'll be making a motion to possibly change the name to Welcoming Center Renfrew, or Renfrew Welcoming Center, because ultimately that's what it should be. And I think we can do a lot of good work out there, and with diversity and inclusivity, if we can do something huge out there, then more people are coming into that area of town, and sometimes maybe they're not coming downtown, and they're always stopping there in the summer. They're always busy there, and I think it's a great opportunity. We've had a lot of chats, you know, about what can be done out there. There's a lot of great ideas that we can do out there, and I think the possibilities are endless because it's so large and there's so much room out there. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the consultants come back with, what ideas they can bring to the table. And I'm excited about it. I hope it's going to be huge. I hope everybody's going to be happy with it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the consultants have to say. Thank you.
Any other comments? Revimo?
It's important to to start somewhere, and I think as well the motion speaks to other town facilities and properties. So it may end up being whatever the mural ends up being, you know, taking a smaller snapshot of it and putting it in different structures and in different areas of the community. So I think it, you know, it's a start there, and as the motion says, it talks about our other facilities, so it's not locked into any one area.
Any other councillor? I just want to say I think it's great that we're heading in this direction. I think well, hopefully we're heading in this direction with the vote. You know, with starting to recognize that Renfrew is moving forward, and Renfrew is trying to make people feel welcomed and safe, and encourage that, and you know, highlight the great things that you know, multiculturalism does and brings to our community and everything like that. So I'm really encouraged by this. It's a nice fresh breath air from recent. So if there's no other questions, oh, sorry, Councillor McDonald.
Through you, Mayor, maybe for the next two, this one and the next motion, maybe have a recorded vote? Yeah. That might be a good thing, do the sensitivity of everything? Okay.
So without any other questions, I would, oh.
I'm just checking for
Kyle?
Yeah.
Councillor Sabalski, do you have anything? Sorry, I forgot you're on the TV.
I'm watching them to see if you're ready.
Sorry, I can't see you at the corner of my eye. So with that, I would like to call the vote by recorded vote, please, on behalf of Councillor McDonald.
Okay. So Councillor McDonald?
In agreement?
Councillor Legree?
In favor?
Councillor McWhorter?
In favor.
Councillor Sabalski?
In favor.
Councillor Andrew Dick?
In favor?
Revimo?
I'm in favor.
Mayor Sidney?
In favor.
So unanimous vote.
Thank you very much, Council. Moving on.
Your Worship?
Yeah, any other?
Yes.
Motions?
If you don't mind, please.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I'd like to move this, whereas the town's draft strategic plan includes a strategy to support an accessible, supportive, and age-friendly community by advocating for community health and wellness through strategic partnerships, and whereas in May of 2022, the Sitting Council passed a resolution directing Town of Renfrew staff to work with Renfrew Pride and PFLAG Renfrew County representatives to design and complete a project to produce a series of flags on both sides of Railway Avenue sidewalks, starting at the Raglan Street/Railway intersection and concluding at the Plant Street Railway Avenue intersection. And whereas Renfrew Pride and PFLAG Renfrew County have fundraised to offset the cost of a sidewalk or crosswalk project, and whereas the town of Arnprior, the city of Pembroke, the town of Carlton Place, the town of Smith Falls, the town of Mississippi Mills, and others have installed Pride crosswalks as a symbol of inclusion. And whereas the Pride crosswalk helps signals the town's commitment to a caring and inclusive town, and one open and welcoming to the 2SLGBTQ1A+ community, and therefore be it resolved that Renfrew Town Council directs staff to include in the 2024 budget an inclusionary Pride crosswalk at the intersection of Raglan Street South and Railway Avenue with financial support of Renfrew Pride and PFLAG Renfrew County at no extra cost to the taxpayer, including ongoing annual maintenance costs and the use of thermoplastic paint. And further, that Town of Renfrew staff be directed to investigate ways to monitor any potential vandalism in collaboration with efforts from the Police Services Board to install cameras to deter automobile thefts and coordinate with the Facilities, Maintenance, and Operations Department to monitor weather and share the information as needed. And further, that the previous resolution for the installation of sidewalk flags be rescinded.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Andrew Dick. Open it up for questions. Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, it'll be a statement expanding on what I spoke about last week. Last week, we had a motion for 4 options. 3 involved permanent changes to town and property, public property, with the fourth option being no action if we didn't agree to the first 3. I didn't agree with painting the side of our town hall for the following reasons. We just spent over $1 million to modernize the Renfrew Town Hall and to have a professional look. We went with a professional look because it is the identity we want to project. This money wasn't spent to create a canvas for any group, cause, or belief system, no matter how deserving they may be. Taxpayers have communicated to me that they want a town hall that is professionally run. They don't want us to promote specific identities or interests. The priority for our council and staff should be a town hall that remains a neutral place for everyone. Regarding, I'm going to clarify some comments because I had some questions with regard to it. Regarding the above comments and the word promote, I was referring to permanent changes. Regarding the phrase specific identities or interests, I was referring to taking positions with such issues as Israel versus Palestine, Ukrainian war, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, and Hindu faiths, or even other nationalities. And of course, the pride flag comes under this. Regarding my comments about neutrality, this was about the 3 specific options presented. We need to remain neutral regarding these types of permanent changes. And if we open the door to one group, the reality is we open the door for other groups who have the same freedom to come forward and make requests. I can tell you right now I celebrate freedom and inclusion for everyone. My entire career revolved around this. If people want to exercise their freedom regarding artistic creativity on their own property, they can, and businesses likewise. But again, our public places should remain neutral to these type of permanent changes. Regarding the previous flags on a sidewalk motion and our current motion of a flag at a crosswalk. Again, I do not support these options as they would demonstrate that our town is not operating from a place of neutrality regarding permanent changes. Further, I believe the council has no specific mandate from the public to drastically change the look of this town with a motion for these types of actions, and neither does this current council. Regarding the terms of mandates, I'm curious as to where the previous council's clear mandate was to permanently change the look of the town, and where is this council's clear mandate to bring forth these permanent changes? And if we don't have a clear mandate from the town, then where is our authority to proceed? This could very easily be resolved by including this question in the next election cycle at the candidates' town hall meeting, where it could be a mandatory question that needs to be answered by everyone. Then people could vote accordingly. It disturbs me with this motion that we need to include public surveillance to monitor compliance. This in itself says enough about the fact that we don't have a clear mandate. And further, who gave us the mandate to pursue public surveillance? I have no problem with personal or business security systems, but now we are talking about public surveillance systems for all Renfrew residents. Again, this is a town overreach with no mandate as far as I'm concerned. Finally, I want to be clear that I am not against this motion, that I am against this motion for the same reasons I would be against the motion for the inclusive Canadian flag to be painted as a sidewalk. I support Canada, but I do not support a permanent flag being painted and drastically changing the look of our downtown. In the same tone, I support diversity, equity, and inclusion, but I don't support a pride flag being permanently painted as a crosswalk and changing the look of our downtown. Because I feel this current council has no clear mandate from the public to remove the town from a place of neutrality regarding permanent changes, I am left with no option but to vote against this motion later today. So thank you very much for your time, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Legray?
Just a quick statement through you, Mayor Sidney. First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. It's great to see the residents and business owners supporting what they believe in. I want to be clear about my stance on this matter. I did not lend my support to the proposal for a pride crosswalk, flags on the sidewalk, or panels on the side of the town office. I personally believe that nothing should be placed on the side of the town hall. That's just my opinion. I'm opposed to walking on flags, even if they are painted on. While I understand they are symbolic, I find it personally inappropriate. Regarding the crosswalk, I've yet to encounter one in any town or city that keeps its original painted look. They end up looking not great. These reasons guided my decision not to support the motion in committee. Although I don't agree with the motion, I will still work with DEI groups to create something inclusive at the Visitor Information Centre that represents every group and resident of Renfrew. The Visitor Information Centre, being a focal point for tourists eager to learn about our beautiful town, currently lacks meaningful representation aside from the caboose. I suggest that the town collaborates with a third party to develop a comprehensive concept where each group, including the Pride community, can be showcased appropriately. Let's transform the Visitor Information Centre into a welcoming space for everyone, whether they are travelers or residents. The concept could incorporate information panels for visitors to learn about each group. The possibilities for enhancing the Visitor Information Centre are limitless. Finally, I want to express my disappointment in the face of calls and emails I've received since the vote last Tuesday. It's frustrating to see some individuals have resorted to inappropriate name-calling and labels. Had these individuals researched or reached out to me, they would have discovered my active involvement within the DEI community and my commitment to making Renfrew an inclusive place for everyone to enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councilor McWhorter?
I'll just jump in here with my statement, for what it's worth. I am definitely in favor of diversity and multiculturalism. Is a crosswalk the way to go? You know, if that was the only avenue that we had to showcase that and to do something for that one particular group, I would say yes, let's do that. But I think there are other and better ways of doing that. I think the ideas that we have out at the Info Center are even bigger and better. I know other communities have done this in the past. They have produced crosswalks. But I think it'd be nice if Renfrew was a leader instead of a follower and come up with some bigger and better ideas to showcase that and to support the community. I'm definitely in favor of the, supporting. I think the money would be better spent on counseling to help those that are going through this. Again, I come back to it. I've talked to other people. I have family members who are in this group. I have friends who are also, and every one of them have told me the money would be better spent in counseling and support, and that's where I go. So, thank you.
Yeah. Any other comments? Councillor Sobalski? Just no. All right. Do you want anything to add before
Sure,
I go?
thank you. Yes, thank you, and through you, Your Worship. You know, I think as leaders in the community, you know, you have one of the responsibilities is to bring forward ideas that often push the community to directions and in heights that it hasn't been before. And I think we also have a responsibility in modeling, you know, behavior and with our language and with our actions. You know, I think through history, when I look at, you know, I now use a walker, I'm not sure, you know, had not municipal governments pushed it over the years, there wouldn't be as good as accessibility as we have in the communities, because, you know, municipalities listened to people who are having struggles with mobility, and that has now spread, as we know, to 2025. I think where commercial and other public establishments have to have accessible entranceways. So, you know, I think that's one cause, or any other number of life situations that have been addressed over the years, because municipalities lead. They often lead in informing the public and then in also informing public policy. And I think in this instance, we have a segment of our community that have expressed on a number of occasions that, you know, they don't feel safe, they don't feel welcome, they don't feel like they have a home here. And, you know, and we didn't respond to them. In our past council, what happened was we had an incident of publicity that wasn't warranted and wasn't welcome, and so we fashioned a response to that. And when we did that and suggested we wanted ideas and input from the community, then Renfrew Pride and PFLAG approached us. It wasn't, they did not come and clamor. I think there's been some emails that suggested we were responding to somebody that was clamoring and making noise. That wasn't it. It was a respectful series of conversations. The sidewalk to address about innovation, the sidewalk was to try and be a little different than everybody else. You know, we were worried that, you know, we wanted something that was a little bit different. The sidewalk was also a means of allowing us to maintain it, because there was some notice of crosswalks being I hate to use this word, but abused, but disfigured, I guess, deliberately. And the crosswalks or sidewalks, once they were installed, could be maintained by our staff. Secondly, the other idea was that the Railway Avenue is often used as I'll say a plaza when we have community events, and by putting the flags down each side, then it allowed that plaza to be, you know, considered a spot for assembly for everybody in the community. So as that doesn't seem to be you know, an approach that was accepted, this was then the default position, because that was initially what had been requested by Renfrew Pride and PFLAG. I misspelled it earlier. That's what the problem has been for me. So, you know, this is an opportunity to show, you know, that the people are welcome in the community, and I think, you know, I think it's unfortunate that if we don't do it, and you know, I think at some point it'll come back to us, because I'm not sure that we can adequately demonstrate our commitment to this without accepting a fairly standard symbol of inclusiveness. And you know, and I know we've talked about, you know, in some instances now, our mandate, and I think our mandate is care and custody of the community. And so I think that allows us to do things that benefit the community or advance the community. And so, you know, I would suggest respectfully that we do have that mandate, because if you start siphoning off decisions to specific referenda, then we'd be paralyzed. And so, I think the referendum for us, should we make this decision, would be in October of 2026. So, thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Andrew Dick.
Thank you, Mayor Sidney. Through you, before I read my statement, there's some things I want to clarify, because I've got both sides of it through emails and phone calls. So the other day when I voted no, not at this time, I was voting no, not at this time, because I didn't want to use those funds to do the three options. One, I did not agree with putting a mural on the side of the building. And no, I did not agree with using those funds to do a sidewalk or a crosswalk with those funds. And then it just blew up from both sides. One side said I didn't support them, and then the other side was congratulating me and saying, thanks for sticking up for us. And I was like, but you're both wrong. I just didn't want to use that funds, that motion to do it. So, you know, I think you'll be surprised at my statement. Just a few things, because I hope this is what council's all about. We debate, we talk, and hopefully I can change some of your minds. Councillor McWhirter, I just wanted, in the motion, the Pride group's going to pay for it, not the taxpayers. So just when you're making your decision, I just wanted you to know that. Walking on the flag, I asked the same question. I said, I would never walk on my flag. And someone said to me, it's not walking on the flag, we're walking together as a community. And I thought that was really neat to hear. So I liked that idea. And we just passed a motion for diversity inclusivity, and we're saying we want to do all these great things, but not for this diverse group. So what, if we're saying no to them, why would any other group come to this town council and ask us for their help to be diverse if we're saying no to them? So I'm going to read my statement. The time has finally come for Council to engage in an important debate on the installation of Pride Crosswalk in our beloved town of Renfrew. 2 years of collaboration between Renfrew Pride and our town have led us to this spot tonight, where we must now deliberate and debate and make a decision that will shape our community for years to come. I want to express my gratitude to all those who have reached out to me, expressing their thoughts and opinions on this matter. I have carefully considered every email, some of which have been professional and insightful, while others unfortunately contain hateful and diverse rhetoric. However, amid the varying viewpoints, one message remains constant: the threat that if I do not vote in alignment with certain individuals, they will not support me in the next election. Tonight, I would like to address the concerns of those who oppose the Pride Crosswalk. It is vital to understand that supporting diversity within the Pride community does not undermine or dismiss anyone's personal beliefs or values. Rather, it presents an opportunity for all of us to learn, grow, and foster empathy and compassion for one another. This is a chance for us to embrace the power of education and knowledge, understanding that we can all benefit from listening and learning from each other. A Pride Crosswalk in our town of Renfrew holds immense significance regardless of the opposition it may face from certain members of our community. It is imperative that we recognize and celebrate the importance of diversity and inclusion. By supporting the installation of a Pride Crosswalk, we demonstrate our dedication to fostering a truly inclusive and welcoming community for all, regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity. A decision tonight will send a clear message to the world that Renfrew is a place where individuals from all backgrounds can feel safe, accepted, and valued. This step acknowledges the inherent equality and dignity of all our residents, creating an environment in which diversity can thrive. Furthermore, the Pride Crosswalk serves as a powerful symbol of support for our young citizens, both those within the LGBTQ community and those who are not. It stands in solidarity with those who often face discrimination, prejudice, and marginalization. By providing the visible celebration of pride, we can uplift individuals who may have experienced isolation or discrimination, letting them know that Renfrew stands proudly with them. We reinforce the idea that love is love and that everyone deserves respect, dignity, and equal rights, regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity. In making this decision, we must remember that we are not only shaping our present, but also teaching future generations about acceptance and equality. Moreover, the Pride Crosswalk as a reminder to the wider community of the positive contributions made by the LGBTQ plus individuals. Diversity fuels innovation, creativity, and economic growth. By openly embracing and celebrating the Pride community, we cultivate an environment that encourages collaboration, understanding, and acceptance. This, in turn, can lead to a vibrant culture exchanges, increased tourism, and a strong sense of belonging and community pride. Let us remember that we walk over the Pride symbol on the crosswalk. We do as a united community walking together towards a brighter future. It is essential to note that supporting a Pride crosswalk does not diminish or exclude other identities or communities. On the contrary, it enhances the overall inclusivity and diversity of our town. By highlighting the significance of LGBTQ+ pride, we recognize the incorrectiveness of all social identities and foster an environment that can accommodate and celebrate the richness of various human experience. This crosswalk will serve as a symbolic door opening to all other diverse groups within our community, showing them that Renfrew hears their voice and sees their worth. Therefore, I wholeheartedly endorse the implementation of a Pride Crosswalk in the town of Renfrew, despite any opposition I may incur. Let us stand together in celebration, support, and progress, working towards a brighter, fairer, and more inclusive future. The establishment of this crosswalk is of fundamental importance, ensuring that our community is one that embraces diversity for all, promotes equality, and supports the LGBTQ+ community. It serves as a power message of inclusivity, strengthening the fabric of our community, and acting as a beacon of hope and acceptance, not only for Renfrew, but for the town and cities far and beyond our borders. Remember, our children are watching what we're doing here tonight. Thank you, Mayor Sidney.
Thank you. I'm going to jump in here. I think one of the great things about, being on council and being an elected official is the fact that we have the opportunity to have a platform to agree to disagree or to do the debate, as Councillor Andrew Dick said. And, what I'm about to say is nothing to throw at Councillor Legree, but making the statement of, we've been bullied and picked on in the last week for decisions that have been said or done. And I couldn't even imagine, I know how it impacts us when we get those emails or those comments, and it stings pretty hard, and there's you often wonder what people are thinking of you and all of that stuff. I couldn't imagine what it would be like if that was my life. I couldn't imagine what it would be like if I made a decision here tonight and walked outside, and because of that decision I got beat up or got killed. And I think by having a crosswalk, it isn't just about the crosswalk. It's the symbol that the town of Renfrew sees you. We hear you. We support you. You are safe here. And I think, to go on, the mandates and stuff, I believe we were given the mandate when we were elected to move the town forward. I think that's why you get elected, because the people trust you with a mandate of making Renfrew better and moving Renfrew forward. And, I don't understand why we can't do both. Why can't we still enhance the Visitor Information Center and have a crosswalk? There's nothing stopping another group from doing a veterans poppy crosswalk on at another intersection. I don't understand why we just can't embrace our community. And all communities, whether it's a community that is all white, all black, all whatever, there's always diversity in there. If you didn't have diversity, you wouldn't have a community. And I think if you have to, to make, and I hate using the word the group, because they're not a group, they're human beings that have suffered, that have been marginalized. And I think it's our responsibility to respect everybody and to hear them. And I think if we have this opportunity to do that, I think we're moving backwards if we don't. And it is a symbol that has been utilized, and it's not a, I think we could be groundbreaking leaders with the Visitor Information Center, and I think that's a great thing, and I think it's a wonderful idea. But I think the crosswalk is more of a symbol of safety, and that's why you're seeing it in so many communities. It's not a, hey, we're here, we're gay, look at our thing. It's literally, this community sees you, recognizes you, and you are safe here, and it's become a symbolic vision for people. You come in through town and they're like, okay, Renfrew's, wow, you're welcome to coming in at the Visitor Information Center. There's all kinds of multiculturalism, and there's all kinds of stuff going on there. Then you come downtown and there's a Pride sidewalk, so they've acknowledged that, people have been, marginalized and bullied, picked on, and basically, scapegoated and all of that stuff. So I strongly believe that it's the message we're sending. And to sort of go on with what Councillor Andrew Dick said, if we don't do a sidewalk, we're still sending a message. And that's a message that I don't want to send, because that's not the town I believe in. That's not the town who I want to be mayor for. That's not the town I was on council for the last 8 years for. This town needs to move forward. We need to embrace differences. We need to embrace, multiculturalism, LGBTQ, sorry, the letters, I can't get them right, so I don't want to mess it up. I think this is our opportunity to take a stand and say, you know what? We have the mandate because you elected us. And, we've heard from both sides. And you know, when I campaigned, I said changes were coming, and to be honest, part of me wants to be like, wow, changes came, all right. But you know, I think I also said that we will make decisions that is for the best interest of the town that you may not like. And I think we have to look at this decision as, is it a decision we're making because of the 10 or 12, 50 people we talked to or got emails from? Or are we making a decision that if we stand back and listen to everybody and look around and listen to council, is it a decision we're making for the best interest of our community? And I think that is the point we need to make. It's not just because we heard from our inner circle or just the people that we know who might believe in the same things we do, or, you know, I got ripped apart today because of a statement that was made on TV that was totally misunderstood. So, you know, we do make comments and decisions that people are not going to like. I think this is going to be a decision that we are sending a message either way. So that's, you know, I think we would be doing, I don't know, I'll leave it at that. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Sabalski, you good? You good? No comment. No comment? Okay. Councillor McWhorter?
Thank you. I just feel like maybe I need to clarify something. When I'm talking about funding and funds, I meant the funding we receive from the government. I realize the community group is fundraised and has the money to do that. My concern for them is, unfortunately in this town, we put in a crosswalk, and I think it's going to cost them a lot of money. Unfortunately, there's always somebody out there who thinks as a drunken plank they could spray paint it, or actually hate mongering and put stuff on it like that and spray paint it. And I hate to see them give a platform to those type of people that don't understand and make those comments. And as far as as I said, I'm totally in favor if that's how they want to spend their money. Other groups, like maybe not the same thing, but the Caboose, for example, they fundraised, they wanted it. It was controversial whether or not people really wanted to keep the caboose or have it painted, and we allowed that to happen. That's another community group. Maybe not the same level this is, but I think if this group has the money and they want to maintain it, I just hate to see them waste their money. But if that's their choice and that's the symbol they want, I don't have a problem with that. I just hate to give a platform to those people out there who don't understand them. So that's where I am.
Okay. Can I just counter that for a second? Yeah. I understand the cost, the upkeep, the damage. Two statements. One, the Renfrew Police Services Board did receive grant money for cameras, so they will be coming. That was just released. So there will be cameras to surveil it. Further to the vandalism, I realize it is a cost. I realize it's an upkeep. I realize it's a nuisance and all of that. Part of me feels that that's the reason why we should be doing it then. If they're going to vandalize it, then that tells me there's a problem. If there's that hate out there, that's the problem. So instead of saying we don't want to spend extra money to upkeep it, I think we need to stand up and say, we'll paint over it. We'll paint over it. We'll paint over it. And that is the message that I believe we need to send. Councillor Andrew Dick.
Thank you, Mayor Sidney, through you. So I know this group's over here and they're just dying to say what I'm going to say for them. So I had a really good meeting with somebody with the PFLAG Renfrew County organization this past week, and that was one of the questions I asked about funding. And she assured me that funding will never be an issue for this organization. They have lots and lots of sponsors. They have lots of support, and it would never be an issue. And I think did I say through you? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
If I didn't say through you, Mr. Mayor. I just thought of that. ADHD, right? And I think it's important. Yeah, it's probably going to be vandalized. It is. Let's just be honest. It's going to happen. But here's the thing. This generation now is just the beginning, and it may get vandalized, maybe vandalized in a year, maybe not. But what we're teaching our young children in this community, it's okay. It's okay, it's okay, and then we just keep, every generation moves forward and moves forward, and then hopefully in 50 years, this isn't even a conversation, and we're all equal, we all love each other, and living in harmony. And so, yeah, so I just want to help you out to understand that, and hopefully that helps in your decision-making. Councillor McWhorter. Thank you, Mayor Sidney.
Hey, any other questions, comments? I'm just going to end with one comment that I think this conversation, I think, might even bring council closer together. So, anyway, with that, hearing no other comments, I would ask for a recorded vote on this motion, please.
Councillor Legree?
No.
Oh, sorry. Mayor Sidney?
In favor?
Councillor Legree?
Not in favor.
Councillor McWhorter?
In favor?
Councillor McDonald?
Not in favor.
Councillor Sobalski?
Opposed.
Councillor Andredick?
In favor?
Revimo?
I'm in favor.
So vote 2, 4 to 3.
Opposed.
Post. So I have a vote 4 to 3. So for the 8th.
So that is
Carried.
passed. That is carried. So thank you, council, for the great discussion. I think we'll move forward, letting people know that if you were here for this, you're more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. It won't be as integrated as this. Yeah, how about we take a 5-minute break here, and we'll come back. All right, we're back, and we'll go back up to C, presentation delegation announcements. Any community announcements or events? Councilor McWhorter?
Through you, Mayor Sidney. I sit on the, as you guys know, I sit on the Renfrew and Area Seniors Home Support. They are doing their annual Green Envelope of Hope right now, and so if you get one of these in the mail, please be generous. They provide a lot of services for our seniors, and without them, I don't know where we'd be. Probably the town would be footing the bill. So please be generous. If you see one in your mail, just don't throw it away. Maybe throw something in it and send it off. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other announcements? I have a few actually. Just to remind everybody that Friday evening, 6 o'clock at the Renfrew Victoria Hospital, they're doing their tree lighting. Santa Claus Parade is on Saturday, and the lighting of the nativity scene is Sunday at 7 o'clock at Low Square. So just wanted to highlight those. Any other? Hearing none. All right, we will move down to facilities maintenance operations, D4.1. Yep. So I'll hand it over to Chair Legree before we move into motions.
Through you, Mayor Sidney, I'll give an update on the Facilities Maintenance and Operations Committee meeting that took place on Tuesday, November 14th. So the MyFM Center expansion update. Director Aslan updated committee on the progress of the MyFM expansion. The update included progress report, schedule, budget, and project pictures. Overall, the project is moving along with a completion date of the end of the year for Phase 1 and late January for Phase 2. I will note that the budget is missing some costs associated with things the town was looking after and is just a reflection of the billing from Butcon. Treasurer Broom is working with Director Aslan to get these items included in future budgets. Moving on to the town garage building assessment report. Acting Director Collins gave committee a report on the current town garage assessment. The report had included a 10-year repair plan with priority levels per year. The total repair and update costs over the next 10 years was estimated at $2,085,000. The committee was in favor of the recommendation with the following amendment: that staff be directed to make minor repairs to extend the garage's life by 5 years, and that staff be directed to report back on design and engineering of a replacement building to be reconstructed in 5 to 10 years, which could include other departments. Town flushing operations. Acting Director Collins gave committee an update on the town's flushing operations. Cemetery snow plowing. So this didn't come tonight, but the report will come forward on December 12th, but I'll just touch on it quickly here. Director Collins brought forward that the town has been plowing the St. Francis Cemetery from Bruce Street to the receiving vault for many years now. This service, the committee recommended that the town discontinue this service effective this year. And then lastly, we discussed the MyFM Center staffing projections. Director Thompson went over the staffing projections for the MyFM Center. Overall, there will be a 19% increase in staffing once the expansion fully opens. It's important to note that even though 19% increase in staffing seems like a big number, we got to remember that the building is physically doubling in size. That's my report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. So I'll move on to the motion. That Renfrew Town Council receives the report, Building Conditions Assessment Report, Renfrew Municipal Garage, 529 Lisgar Avenue, dated October 13th, 2023, for information purposes. Further, that staff are directed to make recommendations in conjunction with the 2024 budget deliberations to commence minor repairs on the garage to extend its useful life by 5 years. And further still, that staff be directed to report back on the design and engineering of a replacement building to be constructed in 5 to 10 years, which could include other departments and strategic partners if required. Mover, please. Councillor Legree, seconded by Councillor McWhorter. Open it up for discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Council. On to...
Councillor Sapolsky did vote in favor.
Oh, sorry, I got to apologize, Councillor Sobolski. I forget you're in my peripheral, and
I'm checking.
no, I didn't even, sorry. We need to put a television there. Moving on to D4.2, that Renfrew Town Council received this flushing operations report for information purposes. Mover, please. Councillor Agree, seconded by Councillor McDonald. Any discussions on this? Hearing none, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Council. Moving on to D4.3, sorry, my computer screen. That Renfrew Town Council authorized the recommended staffing model for the MyFM Center as part of the 2024 budget. Mover, please. Councillor Agree, seconded by Councillor Andrew Dick. Any questions on this? Councillor McWhorter.
I know you're waiting for me to ask. What's the staffing on this? Have we got everybody? I'm going to go with, no, I think I'm going to go to CAO Tremblay. Put you on the spot, CAO. Have we already, I think there was jobs put out, and I think that'll, am I correct in saying that that's going to cover that? Or am I wrong?
Through you, Mr. Chair, just acknowledging Acting Director Thompson's role in this, even though she's no longer... No, and Janet, and collaboration with Randy in getting the numbers right. We were just waiting on the Aqua decision and bumping rates for the union, so I should just say my comments are contingent on that occurring. We believe, and we reviewed it earlier today, we're short a janitor and an MLJ. Depending on the bumping situation. We feel that all the other positions are fine, and we've cross-referenced the time. So we did post when we had two folks move up to skilled operators, we did go external. And there are two kind of seasonals that have been working in the role that potentially will fill the existing two vacancies, and there would be one more, and we're short a janitor. So worst case scenario, we have to fill those two roles, but generally speaking, we should be ready for day one in terms of the expanded facility. Yeah.
Councillor McDonald.
Sorry, CEO, what's the timeline for Aqua in terms of knowing what's going on there?
So we should have final Yep, through you, Mr. Mayor, and to the councillor, we should have final decisions by the end of the week. The openings that resulted as a result of the changes closed on Monday, and people had till 4 p.m. to give us their intention. We understand there are a few staff members that are considering offers with Aqua. One did accept, and two are considering it. So we should have a final decision. Those of the employees that received notice of layoff, they had till Thursday to make a determination. So by the end of the week, we should have certainty on that process.
Any other questions? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Council. Moving on to D5, Fire and Emergency Protective Services. I will turn it over to Chair McWhorter for a brief update.
Thank you, Mayor Sidney. Through you. The Fire and Emergency Protective Services Committee met on Tuesday, November 21st at 10 a.m. Presentations were provided by staff on the terms of reference of the committee, a monthly update for the Renfrew Fire Department and bylaw enforcement. The one report regarding an impound agreement with Carleton Place has come forward for your consideration. It's next on the agenda. Anyone wishing to view the meeting in its entirety are encouraged to watch the broadcast on the town's YouTube channel. The next committee meeting is scheduled for December 12th at 10 a.m. And I'll turn it over to Ken. Not to assume your job, bud.
So we'll move on to D51. The Renfrew Town Council approved the agreement between the Town of Carleton Place and the Town of Renfrew for the use of the Town of Renfrew's Animal Impoundment Facility. Mover, please. Councillor McWhorter, second by Councillor Legree. Any questions? Hearing none. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Council. I'm just going to say something here about D6, Community Services and Economic Development. Councillor Andrew Dick, do you have some remarks?
Thank you, Mayor Sidney, through you. So the Community Service and Economic Development and Standing Committee met on Tuesday, November 21st at 2 p.m. That was my very first meeting attending and my first meeting as chair, and I was thrown into the fire, as we all just witnessed over the last couple days. So we had 2 delegations attending the meeting. We had Mike Coulis and Christine Ouellette on behalf of a town-supported bluegrass festival for 2024. And we had Lisa Vincent, Mel Blimke, and Wanda Bridges-Kennel on behalf of the Downtown Business Association. Presentations were provided by staff on the terms of reference of the committee, a monthly update for the Community Service Department, and a monthly update for the Renfrew Public Library. Noted on Council's agenda are the reports that have come forward for Council's consideration, keeping in mind that we've already addressed item D.6.5 previously tonight, and anyone wishing to view the meeting in its entirety is encouraged to watch the broadcast on the town's YouTube channel. The next committee meeting is scheduled for December 12th at 1 p.m. Please note the time change, 1 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to D6.1. With regards to this item of D.6.1 Kerry Foods, it's my understanding that a final agreement has not yet come forward. Therefore, do I have a motion from council to postpone the motion and bylaw to the next regular council meeting on December 12th, 2023? Councillor Andrew Dick, seconded by Reeve Emo. I don't think there's much discussion on this. Any comment? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, council. D6.2. That Renfrew Town Council approved the tourism and events policy to provide support to third-party event organizers in the town of Renfrew. And 2, approve that the town will focus its efforts on civic events and programming such as Fruit Fest, Winter Carnival, Canada Day, Music in the Park, Truth and Reconciliation Day, Santa Claus Parade, and Free Year's Eve, etc. And 3, direct that staff continue to deliver the Craft Beer and Food Truck Festival as a one-day signature event. And 4, support in principle the return of the Bluegrass Festival in July 2024, organized by a third party with support to be provided in keeping within the new tourism and events policy. Mover, please. Councillor Legree, seconded by Councillor McDonald. Anybody? Yeah, I'll turn it over to CAO for an update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and should just note that this report didn't come to committee as we were hearing from the delegation, but we wanted to bring this forward so that council can consider it, and as the chair had noted to the delegation that council would take a position as soon as possible. Just want to recognize the work of Director Thompson in developing the policy based on best practices. So the first thing I'd like to do is just distinguish between signature events and civic events. So civic events are smaller events that are meant to instill civic pride. Canada Day would be a prime example. Signature events would be those larger events. Sometimes they're multiple days, and they usually have a bigger budget, and they're meant not just for the kind of immediate area, but they're meant to kind of really are based on bringing visitors to the town. The unfortunate part is with larger budgets means larger expenses, and sometimes the revenues don't always match the expenses. And so the approach that staff are recommending to you is based on those examples that we should kind of focus what we're actually good at and no dig to previous organizers, but I think municipalities, having worked for another one that had a signature event that had discontinued because of costs, and you're really relying on the weather and if attendance would happen, we're recommending we focus on what we do well, which is programming and civic events, and that the sole signature event that the town would keep organizing itself with our staff resources in addition to volunteer support is the Craft Brew Festival. It is a one-day festival here at Town Hall and is easier for us to pull off, and we've had general good success with running it. What the policy does is provide a clear outline of how we can provide support to third-party organizers. Third-party organizers have the experience and the talent to organize these types of events, but they do require the support of the town. But what the policy clearly outlines is a process to provide that support, and that support is generally in kind. So if you refer to the policy that Kelly drafted, it does speak to the various types of in-kind support. So it's not meant to be, so it's a grant of in-kind or fee waiver. It would not be cash, but we would track the staff time and the efforts of the town to support the organizers and track that, but then offset it with a grant. So it's not just freebies, we're tracking the logistical support that we're providing. What that also requires is the organizers to actually show us their budget, explain what they're intending to do, and provide all the due diligence that I think the town should have if it's going to be involved in supporting outside organizers. In terms of town-organized events, as I said, we would focus on kind of one-day civic events, things that we can do with our wonderful programs team and with the support of our economic development team. In terms of Bluegrass, what I heard from the delegation is they would like to proceed really within the old model, which is what we heard, and I think the treasurer asked this clarifying question, we would be paying performers, we would be holding checks, we would likely be involved in volunteer management, and we would be involved in a lot of the financial transactions. If that is the case, and yes, there'd be a strong organizing committee that would help on the volunteer side, but that is still essentially a town-organized event. Through what we're recommending is, yes, we support the return of the Bluegrass Festival, and yes, we would provide logistical support and in-kind support through the new grant process, but they should open their own bank account, provide through the grant process a detailed budget, and provide us an outline logistically of how they're going to pull off the festival. And what we would do in return is hand over kind of the guidebook, the organizing book, the checklist, the to-do lists, and I know that in conversations between Manager Charbonneau and Mr. Koulis, the intent was always to kind of give it back to the community and that it would be volunteer run. That did not happen, but we would support them in ensuring that occurs. And any of the swag that's left over can be provided back to them, but we would do our best to support them in their success, but be very clear on the limitations to our ability to support this in keeping with the new framework. So it's clear in terms of expectations, in terms of roles and responsibilities. The last piece I should say is that we're hopeful that we will get event-ready spaces. So O'Brien Park, Low Square, Mattaway are all three really great locations to host events. And as part of the Waterfront Master Plan and the Recreation Master Plan, we're doing some due diligence in terms of what those sites look like. So for instance, at Mattaway, there could be a road going through there in terms of a secondary exit or entrance to the facility. We might be purchasing other land to support some of what we're doing. What we're recommending is we see those processes through before we invest major dollars in terms of O'Brien Park, Low Square, and Mattaway, but those locations should be looked at strategically in the future to make sure that they're kind of plug-and-play event-ready spaces, and maybe we would invest in things such as a stage or fencing or things that would make the life easier for either town-run events or programmers to come in and utilize, and that our contributions would be supported. I should say if council would like us to take Bluegrass on in a very formal way and not within the confines of the new policy, that council would need to provide direction on the efforts of the economic development team because it's a team of two. One Innovation has required a lot of work. They're also involved with land sales. They're involved with the Craft Brew Festival. We haven't really touched the business retention and expansion. We've launched the Business Hive. So if council wants us to be essentially the bankers for the Bluegrass Festival and be involved in all the logistical aspects, including volunteer recruitment, that requires time and that requires staff time, and we feel that we should be very clear to the organizers at the outset what council is expecting, and what my duty as your CAO is to tell you what would you like the economic development team not to do if they're to organize or help organize in a very formal way the Bluegrass Festival. But that being said, we support, as a staff team, the return of Bluegrass and providing logistical support, but doing so in the context of the grant, where we're very clear on roles and expectations. So if there are any questions regarding the grant or any of these elements, I'd gladly take them. We're the staff team.
Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, through you, Mayor, and I'll probably have 2 or 3 questions, CAO, for you. With regard to the Bluegrass, has there been any more information that's been either emailed to us or to staff or anything to update us from the delegation when they were here?
I'm not aware of any information that either Manager Charbonneau, myself, or Director Thompson have received.
Okay, thank you. And I think it's important to note, too, over the last 4 years that we had it, and there was a break for COVID, I get that, but we've never operated with regard to a positive cash flow coming back to us, right? It's always been in the negative. But with those negatives, did that count the in-kind services that you talk about, or is that just the reality of the money not coming in? Go ahead.
So for all these events, we track staff time.
Okay.
And I think it's required for ultimate financial accountability and transparency. We track the staff time. What we would do in those events is we wouldn't be taking on, for instance, the entertainment budget, which, for instance, in Renfrew Roots or Bluegrass is in the vicinity of 30 to 40,000. So any group would have to go and seek sponsors to offset some of those costs. So we don't make a profit for the most part because the extensive staff time it takes to organize them, versus when a volunteer group is able to pull in a vast group of volunteers to run it, versus staff being the primary organizers, and with the support of volunteers. Through the new model, we would support the volunteers with some technical expertise, which reduces kind of the liability from an expense perspective.
Thank you. And second, Mayor, I'll have two more. Thank you. Second one is obviously to you, probably CEO. The Roots Festival in 2023 was a loss of $100,000, and is that also counting in kind? If you can touch up on that.
Yeah, and if Treasurer Broom has anything to add, I'll mention that at the outset. Essentially, we were on par for expenses. We were really deficient on revenues. But we did get stuff like rain insurance and the rest. So that deficit is inclusive of staff time. So as an example, we had a staff member, we had a staff position that was specifically involved in event organizing, and there's a cost to that, and there's a cost to the taxpayer for that. So the numbers that you see is inclusive of all the town's costs associated with the event.
Last one, and I'm done. It's going to be with regard to the Brew Fest, which I enjoy. I noticed in 2022 it was we lost 5,600, but this year we lost close to 20,000. And I'm for it, but how do you see that loss? And if you can touch up on that with your opinion, please. Thanks.
Certainly. I should note that the deficit is mainly as a result of the position we had that was specific to events. There was a proportion of that person's salary, that position's salary, that was specifically budgeted for this event. And even though the position was eliminated before this event occurred, as part of the budget process, we apportioned a portion of that staff's time to this event. That position no longer exists, and so we've really changed the staff requirement for the event. The event is well run. We've done it for a number of years. The playbook is really solid. I know the team's looking at maybe we do charge an entry fee, which would offset some of our costs, and the good feedback that I think they've received on how to make the event bigger. But really that number is a reflection of that we allocated a percentage of the event's position to all the events, including this one, and that's why. We didn't want to take it out, like those costs for that position while it was here. We bore the costs, and we allocated a portion of those costs to this event, including the others. So I think the true surplus or deficit would be closer to a break even, I think is fair to say.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Any other questions? Councillor Anderdick?
Oh, my mic's been on the whole time. It's a good thing I wasn't breathing loud. Okay, so I have a few things. Oh, through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you. So I just wanted to touch base on the Roots Festival, $100,000 loss. I just want to let the taxpayer shareholders of the town know that we have to be transparent about this. We have to be accountable for this, and I think we did everything. Accountability was had, transparency is had. We learned a valuable lesson here, which brings me to my next point about the bluegrass. I am fully supportive of the bluegrass, fully supportive of bringing it back, but I'm not supportive of our staff being involved financially in any way. So I really think we need to stick to the new policy. Thank you, Director Thompson, on the policy. I've read it, it's great. I just want to give an example. This summer, I've been in the works with 3 committee members, and we were planning to bring into Renfrew a 64-team slow pitch tournament that's going to see over 1,500 people come to this area. And I've never come to the town to ask for anything. we're talking, we're covering all the costs, upfront costs, our committee. We're figuring it out. We're going to charge an entry fee. We're going to pay our bills. We're going to clean up afterwards, and the only thing I need from the town is staff to be out there to cut the grass, line them, take the garbage out. So I think that's where we need to go with outsourced sources moving forward. So I'm in agreement with what's in the motion. They need to do it on their own with our support as in the background. You know, so that's where I stand with that. And one more quick thing regarding the craft beer festival. This year, rain, cold, staffing issues, it's okay. 5,600 the year before, but I think we have some individuals sitting right here that hopefully benefit from that day and along with everybody else. So sometimes, I've said this before in the past, sometimes events like that, it's going to cost the taxpayer money, but in the long run, it's really going to benefit Renfrew because those dollars are going to be spent in Renfrew, going to be recycled in Renfrew, and you know what I mean? If I'm sorry, Mel, I'm going to throw you under the bus. A Sense of Country, you know, might have an extra $2,000 that day. I don't know, but that might pay a salary to an employee. So it works out in the long run, so I don't mind losing a bit of money on that. And but hopefully we can turn a profit in the next couple of years. And I think that's all I have to add to this motion.
Okay. Any Councilor McWhorter?
Yeah, I'd just like to throw my 2 cents in as chair of the Special Events Committee. I totally support the staff and their policy. It's a great idea. I'm in favor of the bluegrass going ahead under these circumstances. It's the best way to run. I know CEO Tromley and I had numerous conversations during the festival, the music festival routes over, and it boiled down to basically this, I think. And as far as the food truck and craft beer, I think that the wage thing was more of a housekeeping financial tax thing, if I can remember my taxes properly.
Any other questions? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Council. Moving on to D63. Oops.
Have fun.
That Renfrew Town Council, 1, approve the continuation of the downtown Renfrew Business Improvement Area with associated amendments to bylaw number 29-79, which designated a certain area as improvement area and established a board of management. Therefore, 2, approve that the town assume responsibility for all landscaping and beautification in the downtown core effective 2024. 3, direct that $80,000 BIA levy be included in the draft 2024 budget for consideration. And 4, direct that the remaining $100,000 promissory note for street furniture and lighting on Raglan Street South be forgiven and funded from unallocated reserves. 5, direct staff to work with the BIA to establish the necessary policies and procedural bylaw and confirm appointments to the board for the remaining term of council. 6, direct staff to proceed with necessary notice to adjust the area boundaries to include properties designated as downtown commercial in the official plan. And 7, direct the CAO and Human Resources to place BIA staff on the non-union grid and complete a job description, commiserate with the current rate of pay, and ensuring compliance with legislative requirements. Mover, please. Councillor McDonald, second by Councillor Dick. I will turn it over to anybody that you want to, no, do you want to do a update?
Just a quick.
Yeah.
I just, through you, Mr. Mayor, and we had good conversation at committee, and I just want to thank the BIA members. There's some that are here, and those that presented at committee. I met with them twice and was very kind of honest and said, tell council what you do really well, and tell us what impedes you in terms of doing what you need to do. And I think we were told at the committee that the levy was $60,000 since the late 70s, early 80s, and only increased by $5,000 years ago, and has not adjusted over time as the tax rate increased over for the town. So what that does is that it limits the ability of the BIA to do the good work that it does. What they've basically said to us is they really want to focus on promoting the area as a shopping district, and through the use of festivals and other great programs that they do. Basically, under the Municipal Act, BIA serve 2 purposes, that being 1. The second is improvements of the local kind of infrastructure in the district, and they've asked that that not be the focus based, I would say, on the budget they provide. So their BIA proposal was very thorough, and thank you to them for that. They did ask for an increase to $95,000, and staff believe that a middle ground of $80,000 should be looked at, and basically it's a direction today to include that in terms of the budget, the draft budget that's going to come forward, and that they provide a budget showing their revenues, money in bank, and all their expenses, and that council would evaluate that. Currently, there's a maximum charge of $3,000 that 3 properties pay, and what that means is when they're only paying $3,000, everybody else has to pay a little bit more. So as part of staff in the budget process and working with our BIA colleagues, we would outline what the charges would look like in terms of an increased levy. But what we're recommending is $80,000 as a target. And in terms of expanding the boundaries to really reflect the official plan boundaries and designations of downtown commercial, it makes great sense. However, there's a process in the Municipal Act that requires us to give notice, and we can't complete that before the budget is passed. So what we're recommending is we go to $80,000 and we go through that process, and that process could add a certain number of properties, which would also help with the sustainability of the downtown. And some of the businesses on the back of Argyle or Plant are benefiting from what is happening on Raglan Street South, and they should be considered, and there's a reason why the downtown commercial designation exists in the official plan, and it makes a lot of sense. In terms of the loan, so when Raglan Street South occurred, the BIA was asked to kind of put skin in the game and help pay for some of the improvements for the banners and kind of the nicer benches. I should say the town has an obligation to make sure that those are replaced when they're broken, and we understand also that we have to do a better job on landscaping. So I want to say publicly that we acknowledge we went through a tendering process, and there was some follow-up and some issues that we need to do, and that we will do a better job in terms of the 2024 season, and we'll consult with the BIA and other concerned residents and businesses in the core who might be able to assist as part of the landscaping. But just wanted to note that we appreciate and recognize that we need to do better in terms of color and upkeep of those beds. In terms of space for storage, that's something that we can talk about and find to assist them. But generally speaking, the recommendation for 5 BIA members plus 2 councillors, that is actually the structure of the Board of Management that's been in the bylaw since the beginning. So what we would do as part of the process is the town clerk would work with the BIA staff to ensure that we would nominate and go through the process to appoint the board for the term of council. For years, it's been elections every year, which has not provided certainty within the BIA, so we'll fix that in keeping with the Municipal Act. The other 3 kind of policies that are required, easy fix, that both Carolyn and I can assist with. They need policies on hiring, surplus property, and surplus property hiring and purchasing, and we can adapt our policies and make them work for them. And they also need a procedural bylaw, and again, we can adapt ours to assist them with that. In terms of the promissory note for the street furniture that I was mentioning before, my understanding is there's a balance owing of $120, and that the BIA is aware of last year's payment and this year's payment of $10,000. So the balance that would be remaining is $100,000, and this report recommends that we pay that out of unallocated. The Raglan Street project was done many years ago, and we think that we should just clear that out using the unallocated reserve. The other thing I should say is we did do a survey. It did not get 200 plus responses. I think it got 13, which tells us that there's low engagement in the BIA. And that's telling in itself. So we're hopeful that all these changes, and in keeping with what the BIA Board of Management has proposed, will hopefully lead to more engagement. And I'm really happy that our economic development team and the Business Hive is underway. And I think there's some great work and collaboration that can be done as part of the Business Hive and having them there in terms of supporting them in their mandate. And I'll repeat, if they don't do this work, likely the town would have to do this work. It's kind of like go back to the events stuff. If volunteers aren't doing it and aren't supported, if the BIA isn't doing this work, the town would have to do this work. So to be able to support them, but also giving them the tools to succeed, I think is important. So I'd like to thank them for their patience through the process. I know I'm a truth teller and that sometimes ruffles a few feathers, but I think we got to where we needed to go, and I want to thank them for their patience through the process. So if any questions on this, I'd be glad to answer them.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. A comment and a question. Town staff, I know firsthand that town staff and the BIA board have worked hard to get to this point, and I'm excited about where it goes forward, so I fully support this direction. But I do have one question for you, CAO. We received an email, and I know you got it too. And can you just confirm with regard to that 20,000, it's not going to be staying in an account, it's going to be utilized? Just confirm that and move forward with that we don't have a slush fund of 20,000, right? So just top up, and thank you.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, so basically when the Raglan Street project occurred, those costs were kind of remain on the books. And basically what the BIA was doing through the promissory note was slowly paying them back. So when they pay the 20,000 that's owing on the 120, it's offsetting the costs that have already been paid. So basically these costs, the remaining balance has been floating there. So the 20,000 will offset the costs that the town has already done, and then we will fund the remaining $100,000 outstanding through the reserve, so the Raglan Street project will be officially closed.
Councillor Dick.
Thank you, Mayor Sidney. Through you, I just want to make a comment. Thank you for sitting here for an hour and a half to get to your spot. Much appreciated. Like, seriously, when we see people who care about the motion and they want to hear what we have to say, it goes a long way in our books. I've talked to a few BIA members over the last week since this was brought to committee, and they're super, super excited for what's coming. This is a great reboot for the BIA. I feel that I'm trying not to say when I speech, that's why I'm slowing down. I feel that we won't have 13 people doing a survey in a few years. I think we'll have a lot more. I'm very excited about these changes, and I cannot wait to see all the more great activities the BIA does for the downtown core. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Revimo?
Well, I was looking forward to this, having heard over the last little while about some of the struggles and challenges of the BIA, and so this, I think this addresses it, and one of them was consistent financing and knowing that, there was the opportunity for it to get better. And the other piece is the recognition that the boundaries needed to expand. Because with the expansion of the boundaries, increased revenue, but also increased opportunity. So I think, I like this, that we're moving forward. And I have a one question, the 27% increase with the $3,000 cap being eliminated. How long was the $3,000 cap in place? Do we know that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and looking at the treasurer, it's not in anything. It's not in bylaw. Actually, I was pointing out to the BIA that the original bylaw said they could raise a budget of 1% of their total assessment, would give them $1 million budget. That was never done. So the Act allows us, unfortunately. So under the Act, council can impose a minimum and a maximum. So the lowest charge, I think, is $123, Aaron, something along those lines, or $163, and the maximum was $3,000. We'll look at both minimum and maximums when we come back to council as part of the budget, and then if council decides that, we'll make sure that that's in a bylaw and documented. Right now, it's not.
Any other questions or comments? I just have a couple things. One, I'm really happy to see that we're bringing it in line with the Municipal Act, making sure we're covering legislative duties. That's pretty important. Also, I just want to, I think the BIA is vital to our community. I think if anybody was down at Freaky Friday, I think you will see what that does for our community. I hope we get more engagement, because I know it's the same faces that I see organizing events, and I would like to maybe have them not do as much, maybe have a little bit more help. But recognize that we appreciate everything that you do and that you've done, and we thank you for that. And like everybody else said, looking forward to seeing where this goes and how it can improve. And yeah, thanks for everything. It's really appreciated. Any other questions or comments? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Council. Now moving on to confirmation of Council minutes. The Renfrew Town Council confirmed the regular minutes of Council dated November 14th, 2023. Mover, Councillor Legree. Seconded by Councillor Recorder. Any questions about the minutes? All in favor? Well, that's carried. Thank you, Council. Motions of which notice has previously been given. H1, that Renfrew Town Council direct the town clerk to review and amend procedural bylaw 95-2022 as required to allow for the secure distribution and retention of confidential documents related to closed session items for a period of 48 hours in advance and after a scheduled meeting of council. Mover, please. Councillor McWhirter, seconded by Councillor Legree. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Council. H2. The Renfrew Town Council directs staff to facilitate an open house in the new year upon the completion of the Town Hall renovations. Mover, please. Councillor Andrew Dick, second by Councillor McWhirter. Any questions on that? Councillor Andrew Dick.
I should make a comment before council votes on this because I want them to be aware what this is. My plan with this motion was to actually have it's the next one. I apologize. It's the next one. This is, I'm sorry, I just saw Town Hall. This is an open house. I have no comments on this subject. Thank you.
Any other maybe comments? Maybe. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. On to H3. The Renfrew Town Council directs staff to facilitate a community town hall at the MyFM Centre in the spring of 2024 with topics to be confirmed early in the new year. Mover, please. Councillor Andrew Dick, seconded by Councillor Legree. I will now turn it over to Councillor Andrew Dick.
Thank you, Mayor Sidney. My apologies. I just saw Town Hall. I just want to let, and no hard feelings if you vote this down, fellow councillors. I just want you to be aware what this is and what my idea about this is we are going to be asked questions from the public in a very informal way, whether it's in a circle and we're standing in the middle or we're on a stage. I'd preferably like to see it in a circle. It will be structured questions. It won't be just hit and miss. So I just want all councillors to know that if they're not comfortable with this, they may want to vote it down. And if they do vote no, it's no hard feelings. But I just wanted just to be aware of what it was and what my vision is. Okay? Thank you.
Any questions or comments? Councillor McWhirter.
I just want to say I have nothing to hide, and I'm totally transparent. I cannot speak for my fellow councillors, but I have no problem with this.
Any other questions or comments? So when you say, I just have a question, when you say structured, because we all know how social media plays a role.
Yep.
Is structured going to be, like basically, are we going to be sitting there at a firing squad?
No. Reeve Emo and I had a very good chat about this because I'm new to politics 1 year in and he's only got maybe an extra year or two on me. So he has a little more experience and he said we cannot have that because then it doesn't become constructive, it becomes destructive. So the questions, Clerk Everett and I have had a chat. We're going to have topics of probably 3 topics and then the public will be allowed to come in, ask a question, they're going to be looked at, and then those questions, if approved by whoever, we're going to figure it out, then that person can come to the town, to the front, and ask that question. Okay. Yeah, this cannot be a firing squad, and it has to be structured. But I think it's very important that we do this, or try to do this.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and like Councillor McWhirter said, I'm like, we got nothing to hide, but the firing squad thing was just like, is it going to be beneficial for the community? So, yeah, Councillor Reeve Emo?
Yeah, you know, given the somewhat destructive nature sometimes of misinformation, you know, we wanted to make sure that when a person was asking a question that was based on some kind of factual background, as opposed to just what they may have heard from a third or fourth or 12th party And so that's the idea, is to try and get the questions, as people come in, have them submit them, have someone give them a quick review to make sure they're factual. Frankly, I don't want questions on the World Health Organization or Agenda 3047. I think that's the number we're up to now. So I'm not interested in answering questions on those. I am interested in answering questions on who cuts the grass, how often will we be renovating this building, what's the long-term plans, stuff like that. So, that's the idea, is to get out information as informally as possible, but recognizing that the questions have to have a legitimate background.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you, Council. Moving on to H4. The Renfrew Town Council directs staff to bring forward reports related to the number of properties currently in tax arrears and existing bylaws to deal with unkept properties and ensure enforcement of property standards and clean yards. Mover, please. Councillor McDonald, second by Councillor McWhirter. Councillor McDonald, did you want to, this is your motion?
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, just a quick comment. What I'm hoping to capture with these motions is that we are intentionally moving forward to get our financial house in order and also ensure property standards are current and properly enforced with our new bylaw officers and their approach with regarding our town. So that's what the whole idea is behind this. Thank you.
Any questions? Councillor McWhirter?
Through you, Mayor, I just want to be clear, we're not collecting information like names and addresses for this. It's just strictly number and that, I wouldn't want to see that out, that's all.
Yes, it's my understanding that it's just basically there's 10 houses, maybe a value of this. But yeah, no personal information will be given to council whatsoever. Review, did you have your hand up?
No.
Okay, I'm not putting you on the spot. I thought you did.
I haven't on this. I'll take it down the road.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you, council. Moving on to, moving on to bylaws. Is there a notice of motion? Councillor Andrew Dick?
Thank you, Mayor Sidney. This might, I'm going to say the notice of motion, and we might be able to, I don't know if we can back it into what we're doing out at the Visitor Information Center. The notice of motion I'd like to make is for town staff to look at changing the name of the Visitor Information Center to something more appropriate for our plans. So I don't know if we need to make a motion or we just boot that into the consults. What would be easier, CEO Tremblay? Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
I think a motion is in order because the motion that was passed, which is now a resolution, motions once passed become resolutions, just a little procedural bylaw fun for everybody, had to do with doing some projects out there, less about the building. So I think a motion at the next meeting is totally in order and would change how we deal with the building. And staff, as part of that motion and the report back, can also speak to how were visitor information services delivered there, and is that the best way to look at it? So we're looking at other ways to provide that. So totally, we could take it as a notice, and the clerk can work with the councillor to word that motion.
All right, so thank you, CEO Tremblay, through you, Mr. Mayor. I think I have a better idea, Clerk Everett. I would like to direct staff on an idea on how we can pick a name. That way, in the 2 weeks when we come back, we don't have to pick a name, we figure it, because it's got to be done right.
Okay, so just for some procedural, sorry.
Yes, please, procedural.
Through you, Mayor Sidney.
Can't even say the word.
So we're just giving the notice of motion at this time, so that at the next council meeting on the 12th, you'll bring forward the actual motion. If you need help in drafting that, we can have a little chat afterwards, but right now you're just stating that you would like to have this discussion, and it will be brought forward to the next agenda.
Thank you very much.
And just to go with that, I'd like to talk to you 5 minutes after council, because there's already been sort of a name floating out there. So I just let you know that has already been.
Is it Welcoming Renfrew?
No.
Or Welcoming Center Renfrew?
Well, sort of.
I'm just
The word welcome's there.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
No.
Sorry.
Anyway,
We're getting
just
off
want to let you know. Okay. So that notice of motion has been received. Now we're on to bylaws.
Wait.
What?
Sorry, was there another motion that was being brought forward? No. Okay.
It was off. Moving on to bylaws, the bylaws listed on the agenda of November 28, 2023 be taken as read and passed. 24-2023, pound service agreement with Carlton Place. 95-2023, corporate identity and branding policy. 97-2023, the Ontario Clean Water Agency service agreement. And 98-2023, the confirming bylaw. Mover, please. Councillor Andrew Dick, second by Councillor Legree. Any questions? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Council. Just our upcoming meetings. There isn't very many. Regular council meeting December 12th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Special council meeting December 19th, 2023 at 10 a.m. The Mattaway third-party interim review and CAO's performance appraisal interim report. Special council meeting December 19th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Tabling of the 2024 draft budget and adoption of the strategic plan, Renfrew Road to 2035. December 19th at 6 p.m. Okay, it's twice. Then Development, Environment and Engineering Standing Committee, December 5th, 2023 at 10 a.m. Corporate Finance and HR Standing Committee, December 5th, 2023 at 2 p.m. Fire Emergency and Protective Services Standing Committee, December 12th at 10 a.m. Date and time change. Community Service and Economic Development Standing Committee, December 12th at 1 p.m., and that's a date and time change. Facilities Maintenance and Operations Standing Committee, December 12th, 2023 at 2:30 p.m., that's time change. And with that, we are adjourned at 7:48. Thank you, Council. This was a great meeting.